We're going to talk about metabolism. Metabolism is a combination of two types of processes, anabolism and catabolism. Anabolism are build-up reactions, whereas catabolism are made up of breakdown reactions. For example, in the case of anabolism, we're talking about amino acids coming together to make a protein, a large structure. So you're building something. With catabolism, we're talking about glucose being broken down to provide energy in the form of ATP. Let's take a close look at cellular respiration, which is an example of a catabolic process. It is the breakdown of glucose to provide energy in the form of ATP. Cellular refers to cells, and respiration refers to breathing. When we breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. The cell is no different. Oxygen goes into the cell and carbon dioxide comes out. So what is the purpose of all this? The purpose is to break down glucose to provide energy in the form of ATP. So the overall process of cellular respiration is written as glucose plus 6 molecules of oxygen gives you 6 molecules of water, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, and 36 ATP. Now the glucose is the fuel that the cell needs and breaks down. And the product that the cell desires is the 36 ATP. So for a single glucose molecule, you can get 36 ATP if the glucose is completely broken down. And this happens only in the presence of oxygen. That's why we need the oxygen. The byproduct, water, is useful to the cell. However, the other byproduct, carbon dioxide, is toxic. So we must get rid of it. This is why we breathe in oxygen. It is to break down glucose fully. And we breathe out carbon dioxide because if carbon dioxide accumulates in the cell and in the bloodstream, it becomes toxic. Cellular respiration begins with the breakdown of glucose after a series of reactions to make pyruvic acid. During this process, 2 molecules of ATP are made. This process is called glycolysis from glucose to pyruvic acid. It occurs in the absence of oxygen, and so we say that it is anaerobic. The location of glycolysis is in the cytosol of the cell. If no oxygen is available, then the pyruvic acid becomes lactic acid, which tends to accumulate in our muscles and makes them feel sore. If oxygen is available, then pyruvic acid is converted to acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA is a very special molecule because it can enter the mitochondria. Once inside the mitochondria, the acetyl-CoA enters a cycle of reactions called the citric acid cycle. Inside the mitochondria, oxygen is available, and so all these reactions are said to be aerobic reactions. The next step is the electron transport chain. Electrons from the hydrogen that is present in glucose bounces down a series of proteins forming the electron transport chain. Finally, the electrons are picked up by oxygen. This reaction releases a great deal of energy, and this energy is used to convert ADP to ATP. A lot of ATP molecules are made in this reaction. In fact, majority of ATP is made in this last stage, which is called oxidative phosphorylation. And remember, all of these reactions inside the mitochondria are aerobic reactions. Let's review the stages of cellular respiration. We start with glucose, which is converted to pyruvic acid. This stage is called glycolysis. Pyruvic acid is then converted to acetyl-CoA. Acetyl-CoA can now enter the mitochondria, which is shown by the yellow line. Once inside, it enters the citric acid cycle. The next stage is the electron transport chain, which produces energy to make ATP, which is the last stage. These two stages are called oxidative phosphorylation. All the reactions in the cytosol are anaerobic, and all the reactions in the mitochondria are aerobic.